Setting up my meeting. Okay, all right. Okay, let's see what happens now.
Ta-da.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Power Talking with Power Talkers. I am Victor Irving Jenkins, and my guest is Jake Tushinsky, and we are members of the Power Talkers Toastmasters organization. Hello, Jake.
Oh, Victor, hello, everybody.
And how am I doing? Well, she didn't ask me, but every time I get asked how I'm doing, I say I'm better than I was, not as good as I'm going to be. Well, as you saw in our promo, Jake and myself are going to be talking a little bit about Toastmasters culture today. I have an axe to grind, and Jake is going to stop me from grinding an axe because grinding an axe is not a good look. But it seems to me that the culture in which we are living is impacting Toastmasters. One of the reasons I joined Toastmasters is because I want Toastmasters to impact the culture. So I don't want the culture to, shall we say, infect Toastmasters. But Jake and I'm going to ask Jake a few questions about her impression of the culture, and we'll see how well we do. And if you have any comments, go ahead and put them down in the comment section, and we'll respond to you at a later date. You see, Jake, my assessment of how things are is based on my belief, my broad-based beliefs. And one of my broad-based beliefs is that we navigate this world in our own skin. And a lot of the stuff that happens outside of the world are things that happen as a result of what we're looking for when we see things. Some people say seeing is believing. I say whatever it is that you believe, that is what you see. It's like putting on red colored glasses and expecting to see something that's not red. Jake, why don't you tell our viewers how that concept, how that philosophy, how that lands for you?
I think just as you were saying that, I was relating that, especially with somebody has given their first impression about somebody else. You're going to see a show, you're going to see somebody perform, to present, and you get a preconceived notion based on what somebody else has told you. You are going to see it differently. Is this making sense to you? You're going to say it somewhat differently. Somebody has said, oh, this is fantastic because da, 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 da. Well, now you've got this thing in your brain that says, oh, okay, this is going to be fantastic because of the specific details that somebody has given you. Or you can decide ahead of time, I don't like that kind of person. That's not something, that's a turnoff to me. And then you can sit there and be turned off. It is that going in with a belief. I like it when I tell people I'm about to go see a movie, don't tell me anything. Don't tell me anything about it. Not just about how it ends. I want to form my own opinion. And I think the only way to truly form your own opinion is to not get the opinions and the beliefs of others if you can. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier.
Now, here's what Toastmasters promises. This is the Toastmasters mission statement. I think we can probably agree that a mission statement is indicative of what the organization wants to do.
Not sure if it's you or me.
Toastmasters says that they are to provide
I am not sure if you can hear me, but I cannot hear you right now. It's been a long time since technical problems existed. And if I need to, I can re-log in. Yeah. I'm now the host. Stop. Okay, Victor has made me the host, but kept us on live streaming. So I can make two assumptions. One, he forgot to disconnect me. Or two, he made me the host knowing he's coming back in. So I wonder where he left off, because I certainly didn't get to hear what he was saying, other than the Toastmasters mission and what's so important about getting feedback and learning from others, which is so incredibly true. There he is. Look at that good looking man. So hey there, I figured since you made me host, I would stay on with your guests, but you are just freezing out on us. And he has such a serious look on his face too, because this is extremely important, especially since he had an axe to grind. This time I am gonna scooch out and we'll see what happens. Ah, am I the host though? Let's see if I
Made you host. The
There you
program went away.
It does not like you. See how fast he can come back in here. That's what I'm sitting here. Like anybody who's tuning in right now, we are actually here with Power. There he is, our power talker.
I don't know what's going on, but it doesn't matter. For me, the self-confidence and the personal growth looms very large. Now, after you tell me whether that looms large for you or not, I'll tell you what I think it means. So, of the Toastmasters mission statement, what looms large for you, Jake?
Luckily, I know the mission statement. I think what looms largest is the communication leadership and building up leadership. If you lead your life, that's it. And yes, they go hand in hand. Sometimes they say communication and leadership, but quite honestly, it's one and the same. And so what looms largely with me is taking control and finding the certainty that we need. And that's by getting the feedback that we get from our Toastmasters. Well, you got my answer anyway.
Wow. Relog in, period. You
No, you froze again. This is crazy.
know, those are the sort of things right there. Let's see what we're gonna do. We're live streaming. Okay, now, and it's odd that you're frozen in. What part of the Toastmasters mission statement looms large for you?
I think the audience got it, but really it has to do with the communication leadership. It's the leadership aspect of it that looms large for me. How are you supposed to be the leader in your life if that's not something that you're focusing on? Communication is the tool that we use to be better leaders, and leaders are listeners, and leaders get feedback, and they listen to that feedback. So to me, are you still with me? Did you freeze again? You did. You froze again.
Huh.
Yeah,
Jake, we are going to have to reschedule our
I think
broadcast.
so.
Unfortunately, it's not working. Okay, now I can see you, and I'm back. Okay, you were saying that for you, the leadership words loom large. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, no, leadership is what looms large. For me, it's communication's the tool. But in order to be confident in our lives and be leaders that are not following with ego or making something up in our minds, the fake it till you make it, but believe me, it's better to go someplace where you can become an incredible listener and that you can get feedback and do something with that. That's going to make us better leaders. Communication is the tool.
For me, as I was growing up into the world, the difficulty for me was just feeling good. Just going through life feeling good, because whatever else in life you're doing, if you're not feeling good while you're doing it, it just really doesn't work. And in an effort for me to feel better, I changed some mindsets that I was carrying around. I changed some philosophies that I was carrying around, and I attracted this organization called Toastmasters into my life. Now, when you get in an organization, you have several people, and they have a way to run it. They have an order of events and order activities, things that you do, and they have a culture of their own. Inevitably, you're going to run into situations that you're going to just need to manage. And one of the things that I've learned to manage real well is me. And so when things don't go well or things don't go as you expected, there's this thing that happens to many of us, this thing that curls around inside that makes us feel, for lack of a better term, not good. And when we feel not good, we're not doing our best. So we do all sorts of things to make ourselves feel better. So for me, Toastmasters and their mission statement, self-confidence and personal growth, forced me to learn how to feel better. Because, things could be going okay in your life until you start to feel bad. Then you get much more ineffective than what you had been in the first place. So the fostering self-confidence and personal growth, for me, as you go through your life, the instances where you don't feel out of sorts is supposed to decrease. And being a Toastmaster is supposed to help you do that.
Victor, there's something that you said. I'm glad you expanded a little bit on that makes you feel bad, not to be confused with feel uncomfortable, because part of what Toastmasters does is helps us to get used to being uncomfortable. If you are not changing, you are not growing. And growth is not always comfortable, but what we have is a safe environment to do that. So just to be clear on what doesn't feel good, something can feel different, something can feel uncomfortable. And yes, we get accustomed to that feeling. I know that most people will say that they have gotten used to being uncomfortable and they're starting to get uncomfortable when they're not uncomfortable. It's that signal in their head that says, okay, I'm not growing if I'm just comfy. So just to expand on that, what's that feeling?
Okay, good. Which brings me into, the real crux of what I'm talking about. It's as though our culture in general is averse to not feeling uncomfortable for 20 or 30 seconds. They just can't
Oh my God, I can't believe we got here. Oh, yes, exactly.
It's like,
People
I
don't
heard,
want to make anybody feel bad. They don't want to be uncomfortable. What is societally okay these days? What's okay to say to men, to women, to people of color? It short, fat, fat, skinny, it doesn't matter. Nobody wants to make anybody feel uncomfortable these days. All right, nobody is, I'm not going to back that up. Most people are very
many people. Go on. I'm not interrupting. Go on.
That's, truly, you're right. This is to me a problem.
Mm-hmm. Understand, and those of you that's doing, understand that, if you can get the analogy, we all want to make good judgments, just like we all want to be comfortable. But the route to good judgment is through bad judgment.
No, I lost you. This was getting juicy. I don't know about the rest of you and exactly what's recording.
So you can't stop making it be bad. The other day says, don't worry so much. She said, don't be so concerned about mistakes. Just be sure and make them.
Yeah. Oh, you keep bugging out. I really don't know if it's my end or not. But he looks so pretty. I love that you froze on that. Beautiful.
Just be sure and make. Well, but you get what I'm saying. So in Toastmasters, am I okay now? In Toastmasters, where you want to be uncomfortable so that you become comfortable being uncomfortable, it seems as though, like the culture, that Toastmasters are avoiding feeling the uncomfortable portion of growth. There are people that don't want to call on you because you might get nervous. You know, the table topics portion of Toastmasters, they don't want you to be uncomfortable. So they ask for you to volunteer to be in table topics. Jay.
You showed up. You want to talk. The thing is, come on. I feel like, yes, actually, you do want to be called upon. That guest that shows up, yes, they do want to be called upon. Because then, if you mess up, well, you weren't expecting it. Oh, you didn't volunteer. They just made you. So it gives you, I personally, by not asking for volunteers, you have given people license to screw up. And that's where we go, is to screw up and improve. Go for that experience.
Toastmasters is for speaking. It's for verbalizing. And you and I both know that everything we hear doesn't make us do a cheer, right? Some of the things that we hear, we don't want to hear. Some of the things that we hear are just flat out offensive. However, that doesn't mean you're not supposed to hear them. That means that you're supposed to grow to the point where they don't bother you as much. So in Toastmasters, where they talk about don't mention religion, don't mention politics, don't mention this. Hey, I want to talk about everything. But what's happening is that the Toastmasters, the quality of the speeches, to me, the quality of the speeches seems to be getting a little bit diluted because there's certain things that people don't want to talk about. And as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing that's off limits when you're talking. Now I'm a Christian, as a traditionalist of a Christian, but it doesn't make any difference to me what you are talking about just because I'm a Christian. And there's no reason why that should even come into the way things are when you're in a Toastmasters meeting. When you're in a Toastmasters meeting, you are there to talk. And since you're the one talking, you're supposed to talk about what's of interest to you, whether it's of interest to me or not. And I'm getting a little testy here, but
I'm like, and go on.
You know, my job isn't to make you feel comfortable. Your job is to make you feel comfortable, just like my job is to make me feel comfortable. And the concept of I hurt, you pay doesn't work. So just like our culture, when someone feels bad and they want somebody else to do something, they want somebody else to not say something, they want somebody else to say something, you are misusing your greatest gift. And your greatest gift is the ability to think whatever you want to when you want to do it. You can do that. And by no means does everything that you say ring my bell, but the fact that you are saying it, and I'm being specific here, the fact that you are saying it, that you, Jake, are saying it, that's what rings my bell. And many times some of the things you're saying ring my bell as well, but it's because I like you. And I like most people. I can be quiet.
So are we talking about, if we're going to stay on the topic of what is the topic that we bring up, or making sure that we're not offending other people? Here's the thing, is that one of the things we learn is know your audience, and that every audience is going to, careful about this, everybody and nobody, that people in the audience are going to be diverse. So if you're concerned about offending someone with your beliefs or your values, well, first of all, you're right in thinking of the 4 agreements that only you can make you feel bad, and that life is full of, it is a diverse world that we're in. But what we can learn to do is how to say what we're thinking and say what we're feeling, and go ahead and acknowledge if you feel the need to acknowledge in that safe environment at Toastmasters. And that is, I certainly have been able to swear in a speech. It fit. It was, I felt like that's something that I planned in that speech. Now, as I went on, and I had gotten feedback that was really offensive. So my next time I told that speech, I did the swear word and I said, we are all adults here. I'm pretty sure that's not the first time you've heard that. I incorporated a means for addressing, so that the sooner that person could get rid of that, whatever hang up that that person might have had, or that offensive, I don't want them to close off. So I'm going to do something special and use a technique that I have learned at Toastmasters, or by getting feedback, to say, all right, I want to address that, make sure that's cleared out of the way. I'm still being me. And now they're going to listen to the rest of what I have to say. Know your audience, address the audience, and give everybody the opportunity. Because if I'm up here saying it, if I have taken the time to put this presentation together, I want people to listen to it till the very end. And I think that you can still do it with talent and poise,
which you can learn from Toastmasters. And on the flip side, the person who was affected by what you said, the next time, if they're not less affected, then they're not growing and they're not getting the most out of Toastmasters. So we're not saying that it's going to be a flowered bed of ease, your Toastmasters journey, but we are saying that however you are today, tomorrow you will be better, which actually falls right into my mantra I've been saying for 15 years. I'm better than I was, but not as good as I'm going to be. And, you know, and in no small way, the Toastmasters organization could have been invented, could have been allowed by God just for that very reason. So I can say better than I was, not as good as I'm going to be. You know, we have about, I don't, it's already been 20 minutes now. We don't want to belabor the points that we're making, but Jake, I was wondering if you could spend the next couple of minutes or so articulating just a smidgen of the effects of culture on Toastmasters, as far as you can see, good or bad.
And I'm thinking about the effects. Well, we have been saying it. What's happened is I believe that people have become more and more, as global as we have become, people have become more and more sensitive. And to me, now I'm watching that. I used to go in and get some incredible feedback. Sometimes I felt like, ooh, I got to toughen up my skin. Or I'm listening to others. People aren't too afraid to say it like it is to me these days. But when I'm listening to others, I hear them being so cautious. What we learn, being the person who's giving the feedback, that person is learning how to give feedback, and they need to learn how to say things they may not want to say. We have a member right now that has joined our club, and her reason, her why for joining the club, Victor, is so that she can learn to say what she wants to the people around her. Usually she gets into club or gets into groups and she's at work and she's thinking of something. She believes she has a good idea, but she's concerned about speaking up, or she doesn't agree with something that somebody says, and she needs to learn how to speak up. And literally, she said, speak my mind. That's what she said. I want to learn how to speak my mind. You do that by giving evaluations. You practice thinking and saying, this is what I think. This is what I feel. This is what I'm hearing when I hear you say, present this idea. This is what I hear. So valuable. Maybe the person with the idea had never considered a different aspect, a different point of view that's going to help them to sell their product, to say, you know what, when you say that, I hear this. Is there another way that it could be said that we make sure everybody hears your message? Does that make sense to you? That's the power of evaluation.
For me, it is very, very important that I feel the way I like to feel. And I suppose that's true for the people that's watching this. But it's so important for us to manage that ourselves. We are the ones that's in control of how we feel, and we feel like we do based on what we are thinking. And it's really nobody's job to make us feel better, no matter whether we think it's their job or not. So I want to encourage all of you to say what's on your heart. If somebody has a problem with what's on your heart, it's not because it's on your heart. It's not your fault if I feel bad. So you don't really have to work that hard to stop people from feeling bad. Because one thing is sure, if you're giving a talk and there's more than one person listening, there's probably somebody that doesn't like what you're saying. But if they don't, that's their dilemma, not yours. And for me,
what do you think? I'm interrupting you here on this because what do you think needs to be, it's almost like added to the mission, but needs to be said so that people are reminded of that at each meeting? Can you imagine some statement being said at each meeting to give people the courage to leave that other culture outside of the club?
The only thing that comes to mind is making sure that the mission statement is stated at the beginning of each meeting and at the end of each meeting, because self-confidence and personal growth, I mean, that says it all. Self-confidence and personal growth. Because when you are confident, number one, you communicate more easily when you are confident. When you are confident, you hurt less easily when you're confident. So if you can look at something when you have an out of sorts feeling, and rather than ask yourself, I wish they would stop doing that, ask yourself, why am I feeling this? What is this doing for me? Because the more you're in control of what you feel, and what you think, that's the more you're going to be in control of what you feel. And it's not going to happen overnight if you're not there yet. But believe me when I tell you, you're probably not going to hurt my feelings, probably.
Imagine if you could summarize that summarize that. I like, yes, the mission beginning. And I am absolutely with you. What about adding to that reminder? People, believe. I love it. Believe. Also, amen. Believe. And that is believe that you are here to be more confident. Be confident, my fellow Toastmasters, in saying what you think and what you feel, and be confident, my fellow Toastmasters, that the people who are here today are ready to receive it, or they came to receive it.
I don't think there's any simpler. I just think it requires a lot of words to say it.
Yeah. Well, I get the motto. I like saying the motto. Each club has their culture, and having that motto, here's where we come, to be structured and fun. There's no reason we can add just that little bit. What we're trying to do is change a culture back. Because you and I can sit here and say, this is what we believe is happening, but what words can you use to trigger permission these days? Maybe that's
Welcome to the culture of Toastmasters. Leave the other ones at the door. Hey, Jake, thank you a lot for being with us today. And sorry about all the early technical difficulties, but I thoroughly enjoyed this, Jake. And I hope that you can join me again on Power Talking with Power Talkers.
Thank you, Victor.
Until next time, y'all do me a favor and have a good time. Stop the recording.